The closed session meeting of the Bellflower City Council on Monday, November 22nd, 2021 is now open at 5:30 PM and recessed to 6 PM due to lack of a quorum. Thank you.
We'll call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of Bellflower City Council. It's Monday, November 22nd, 2021, and it's a little bit after 6 p.m. Before we begin, please note that all public meetings will be recorded. When a participant logs in via their computer or calls in to join the meeting, their name and/or phone number will be visible to all participants. Unless you are providing public comment, your audio will be muted and your video will be disabled. Persons wishing to be audience members to the meeting may do so anonymously. Anonymous participants, however, will not be recognized for public comment. Persons who seek to bypass the city's host controls will be dropped and blocked from the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation. Roll call, please, Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Here.
Councilmember Santa Ynez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton,
Here.
Councilmember Hamada,
Here.
Mayor Coops.
Here. All right, Mr. Stewart, would you read our closed session item?
It's the existing litigation in one case, City of Bellflower versus Wen. Case was filed on December 13th, 2019.
Any recusal or conflicts on our closed session item? All right, on public comments, we will now receive those, but let me read. If you would like to speak, please use the raised hand feature. If by computer, it appears under the Participants tab. If by phone app, it will appear under the More button at the bottom right-hand corner. Or if by telephone, press *9 to raise your hand and/or *6 to unmute. You will be called upon in the order received. You can then unmute your microphone so that you can provide your comments. Do we have any comments at this time?
Mayor, we have no members of the public in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now recess to closed session. Public participation is not allowed during closed session. The virtual meeting will remain open during the dependency of the closed session. Upon concluding, we will resume the open session and announce any reportable actions from closed section. Thank you. Call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Bellflower City Council. It's Monday, November 22nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. and there are no reportable actions from our closed session. Before we begin, please note that our public meetings will be recorded. When a participant logs in to their computer or calls in to join the meeting, their name and/or phone number will be visible to all participants. Unless you are providing public comment, your audio will be muted and your video will be disabled. Persons wishing to be audience members to the meeting may do so anonymously. Anonymous participants, however, will not be recognized for public comment. Persons who seek to bypass the city's host controls will be dropped and blocked from the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Here.
Councilmember Santa Ynez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton,
Here.
Councilmember Hamada,
Here.
Mayor Coops.
Here. At this time, we're going to have our invocation, which I'll provide, and followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance provided by Jim De La Longa, Director of Economic Development. Please stand with me. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening hour to give you thanks for all the blessings that you have given to our city. Please be with us as we conduct this meeting for the betterment of our city. And we want to keep in mind all of those that are in our town that do their best to protect us. The public safety and our fire departments are always in our prayers. We also want to think of those armed forces throughout the country and throughout the world that are serving to protect our nation. Be with us as we deliberate those items before us to give us the wisdom to do what is right for our city. In his name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Please face the flag, put your right hand over your heart, and say the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we're going to do our city council announcements, and mine is first with next week. The annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony will take place Friday, December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. in downtown Bellflower. Local residents and neighboring communities are invited to this free event filled with carolers, crafts, real snow sledding. Santa Claus will make an appearance and meet with the children to take a photo and listen to their holiday wishes. For more information, you can call 562-804-1424, extension 2261. Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dunton.
Thank you, Mayor. The Bellflower Volunteer Center is working closely with residents, community groups, churches, schools, service clubs, and organizations to provide Christmas food boxes and/or gift cards to families in need. The Volunteer Center is accepting gift cards, monetary donations, canned goods, and gifts for all children. All donations must be received by next Wednesday, December 1st. If you would like to be a part of this program or have any other questions, please contact the Bellflower Volunteer Center. And that phone number is 562-804-1424, extension 2331. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Councilmember Raymond Hamada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see, good evening, Bellflower. The state of California's COVID-19 rent relief program is still available for California renters and their landlords who have been impacted by COVID-19. The program covers 100% of rental and utility arrears payments and prospective rent to qualified households. For more information, please visit the state's website, housingiskey.com, or call the Housing is Key Rent Relief Call Center at 1-833-430-2122. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hamada. Councilmember Victor Sanchez.
Good evening, Bellflower. As of November 4th, 2021, patrons entering indoor bars, nightclubs, breweries, wineries, or distilleries in the Los Angeles County will need to show proof of full COVID-19 vaccination. According to the most recent LA County Health Office order, the health officer is also recommending indoor restaurants to verify vaccination status of all patrons who will be seated indoors for food or beverage service. For more information on the LA County Health Office order, please visit www.publichealth.lacounty.gov. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Councilmember Sonny Santianez.
Thank you, Mayor. The Bellflower Chamber of Commerce invites businesses, service clubs, and the community to join their monthly morning mingle, which will take place next Tuesday, November 30th, 2021, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. For more information, please call the Bellflower Chamber of Commerce at 562-867-1744. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sonny Inez. All right, public comments, Mr. Stewart.
This is the time set aside for the public to address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. Those wishing to speak on an agenda item must utilize one of the methods listed on page 2 of the agenda. You will be given 3 minutes to address the city council. Attempts to provide comment at times not designated on the agenda may result in the city dropping you from the meeting.
If you'd like to speak, please use the raised hand feature. If by computer, it appears under the Participants tab. If by phone app, it will appear under the name More button in the bottom right-hand corner. Or if by telephone, press star 9 to raise your hand and star 6 to unmute. You will be called upon in the order received. You can then unmute your microphone so that you can provide your comments. Do we have any comments at this time?
Mayor, I'll give the public a moment to utilize the feature.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm not seeing any raised hands at this time.
Thank you very much. Moving on to public hearings, item 11, there are none. Ordinance and resolutions for consideration, item 12, there are none. Consideration, item 13A, Mr. Stewart.
This is consideration possible action to authorize the mayor to execute transfer agreement number 2021 RPLS GRO1 in a form approved by the city attorney with the Los Angeles County Flood Control District for the Safe Clean Water Program, regional program funds for the design of the Simspark Stormwater Capture Project. And Mr. Iniguez has the staff report for us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Good evening, Arnold Mayor, members of the City Council. In 2014, the City Council authorized the submittal of watershed management programs, or WIMPs.
Mr.
to the
Negas, this is the mayor. I'm conflicted out of this one, so I'm going to leave the room and you can continue. And I'll hand this over to Ray Dutton, the mayor pro tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The mayor has left the room with his conflict, so there's no more conflict amongst us. So let's have the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. In 2014, the City Council authorized the submittal of watershed management programs, or WIMPs, to the LA Regional Water Quality Control Board. The WIMPs contain the methods by which the city will comply with stormwater NPDES permit requirements. A model in the WIMPs estimates that the city needs to capture 60.4 acre-feet of stormwater by 2026 at an estimated cost of $61.4 million. The WIMPs identified potential stormwater capture projects at Carruthers Park and also at Simspark. A stormwater capture project has been constructed at Carruthers Park with $13 million of Caltrans funding. The Carruthers Park project captures 9 acre-feet of stormwater. An additional 52.4 acre-feet must be captured in order to achieve compliance. In 2018, Measure W was passed by the voters, providing $16.7 million annually for regional projects and programs in the Lower San Gabriel River area. The Lower San Gabriel River Watershed Area Steering Committee, or WASC, recommends the award of Measure W funding for regional stormwater projects. In May 2021, the city was awarded $2.14 million in regional Measure W funds for the design of the Simspark Stormwater Capture Project. The WASC is currently considering awarding funds for construction. The total project cost is estimated at $18.7 million. Design is estimated to be completed by September 2022, and if construction funds are awarded, construction will be estimated to be completed by September 2024. Now we'll go ahead and turn it over to Oliver Galling from Craft Water Engineering to provide an overview of the project elements and also the project schematics. Oliver?
Yes, next slide, please. So here's the project. Here's an aerial view of the park. You can see that the storm drain runs along Clark Avenue, and we would build a diversion structure in the underground storm drain. So it would be built underground. It won't be on the surface. And then there will be a delivery pipeline that will go across the parking lot. As you can see the black line across there. And then it runs diagonally towards the field. At the field, there will be an underground subsurface storage structure with a storage volume of 12.2 acre-feet in storage volume. So just a little bit larger than the one at Carruthers Park. There will be a pump that will discharge water from the underground storage structure. There's also an opportunity to provide for stormwater reuse at the park, as well as a discharge pump that can send water back into the storm drain. That can filter and treat water and send it back to the storm drain. It can also be used in conjunction with City of Lakewood to coordinate the water that they use from the same drainage area as well. So there's some great opportunities for collaboration with the city. One of the benefits of this project is that the parking lot would also be enhanced with permeable pavement, bioswales to collect runoff from the parking lot and treat runoff from the parking lot as well. And then with additional landscaping just to provide more drought tolerant landscaping in the area. At the underground storage structure, what will be replaced on the surface is artificial turf. And actually, if you can go to the next slide, you can see what the proposal is. You can see the surface features, and then the 2 baseball fields will be replaced with artificial turf, so that it's a year-round field that can be used, and and also provide some water supply benefits, because of artificial turf does not require irrigation water. So really, really effective towards addressing the drought needs of a large turf area. So next slide. So here's a profile of the project. You can see that the underground reservoir will be below the surface, and you're still able to sustain and maintain the existing use of the park as 2 baseball fields on the surface. And there will be most of the infrastructure will be underground, but some of the nice enhancements include parking lot features and things like that. Just some of the details down below, you can see what we have designed also in the system is that although the physical storage capacity of the structure is 12.2 acre feet, there is a filtration that occurs. First, there's some filtration that occurs to clean the water once it comes from the storm drain, but also there's a pump and a filtration discharge so that it improves the water quality that's coming in, and it can also discharge water back. So the performance of the structure can handle 27.8 acre feet of treatment volume over a 24-hour period. So it's really working at a very high efficiency. And you can see that the pollutant load reductions, it's metals that are contained in stormwater, it's removing over 80% of the metals, as well as about 80% of the copper that's present in stormwater as well. Next slide.
So that concludes the presentation. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute agreement file number 916 in the form approved by the city attorney, or alternatively, discuss and take other action related to this item. This concludes my staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And also, aside from Oliver, we should also have Rich Watson from Rich Watson and Associates available to answer questions.
Thank you, Bernie. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to chime in? You want to go first? Yes. Okay, Mr. Amata.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. And first off, thank you for the report. Just in reading the report, my take was just again trying to do the math for the future. So, if we're required to achieve the 60.4 acre feet by 2026, our we'll call Carruthers project took care of 9. This project takes care of 12.2. So, how does our future look in trying to achieve, or are there other methods or other, existing projects or whatever it may be out in the development world here to help take care of that?
Yes, I'll go ahead and start it off. The city of Bellflower, we were to be successful in gaining the construction funds for this project, we're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody except for maybe the city of Lakewood, which is also going to have 2 stormwater capture projects. Everybody else has to comply with the same requirements, and they do not have the volume capture that the city of Bellflower would have. Now, even though we have the hard milestone, the fact that we're way ahead helps us in asking for either extensions or showing good faith. But Richard Watson is our regional consultant in the watershed group, and he can probably expand on that response as well. Rich?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I may elaborate on that somewhat. We're trying several different things to reduce the total amount that's going to be required from the whole watershed, which means reduction of what's required from the city of Bellflower. Right now, we have before the Regional Water Board an updated version of our reasonable assurance analysis, or RAA, which updates that 60.1 acre feet to 54.2 if they accept our current methodology. In addition, what Oliver explained is that we have the one-time capacity of 12.2, but we have 27 plus acre feet of capacity over 24 hours, which is part of what our argument is going to be, that we're accomplishing what we need to do. So as a watershed group, and Bellflower has been a leader in the group, we are doing everything we can to reduce the ultimate need. We're also working for something that's called the biotic ligand model, otherwise known as the BLM. And so if we're successful with that, and the regional board has accepted the idea of moving ahead with copper, not with zinc, and as was mentioned earlier, those are the two critical elements at the moment because of two total maximum daily loads. If we're successful with that, that will have a tremendous impact on the level of what's considered being in compliance or out of compliance. And we're working diligently. We started on the biotic ligand model. When did I start that? Probably 3 years ago. And the regional board accepted the idea in what's called a triennial review, the previous one. It got carried forward. They lost a key staff member. And so it's sort of floating out there, but we're working diligently to get them to move ahead. And if they do that, then that will further reduce, I think, the amount of capture that this city will have to do. And what I made a presentation, I can't remember what year I made my first one to you guys, but basically Bellflower and the 6 other cities are working together in this watershed along with flood control district in the county. And we're doing everything we can to reduce the ultimate reduction necessary. It just so happens to turn out that SIMS is a critical element in this whole process. If you'd like, I could ask Oliver to explain something that we've discussed about how we could control the construction process through the plans that signature on this is going to provide. But planning the actual construction, instead of just doing 2 phases, we're looking at doing 4 phases, which will mean that we can probably keep one of those softball diamonds in operation almost all of the time. There'll be a short time at the end where we have to have a problem where both will be closed down in order to put the synthetic turf in. But we're working diligently, and we can do this through the signature on this particular agreement, because all this does really is allow for the procedure of the city receiving the money to pay for the final design. Then there's another element of this, which is in the staff report, saying that we're going to move forward with the idea of getting approval for construction. Construction will be finalized after the design is finalized. So I think we are doing a lot to reduce the impact on the city of Bellflower, but it just so happens that this project is kind of critical. And we are working in every way we can to work out a design that prevents both ball diamonds being out of use for a long period of time. So I'd like to ask Oliver to give you an explanation on that, if I might.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rich. So yeah, one of the things that you probably witnessed in the construction in Carruthers is that the contractor excavates half the site and then places the units in and then backfills the material on top as they excavate the next half of the underground structure. So it'd be very similar here, where they could excavate, half of the area and have one ball field still being commissioned while the other one's being excavated. Once that's backfilled, what will happen is on the surface, it'll probably be like hydro seed or some type of seed to restore the grass surface for one baseball field to be restored, and then excavation can begin on the second ball field. So it does require that construction take a little longer, but it does allow for immediate use of one of the baseball fields throughout the process, which would be great. And then after both fields are, or after the reservoir has been installed, and you're ready to reinstall the surface of the second ball diamond, what will happen is that's when the artificial turf will be, it'll be resurfaced, regraded, and then the artificial turf will be installed on top of the entire field surface for the park. So it'll be pretty amazing once it's installed, because you'll have, a beautiful artificial turf on that for the baseball field and the baseball users.
Thank you, Oliver. This is Rich. I do want to add one more thing. I don't think Oliver quite explained it. What we propose to do is in the half that's done first, we will only do a quarter at a time. We will excavate, put the excavation materials, and then we'll get rid of some of that that's not necessary to truck it off. But that'll go on the other half of that first area. So all of that activity on the first diamond area, even though it's half of the project, will occur in quarters. And so we think we figured out something we have not done before. We did not do this with the fields in Lakewood, but we're confident we can do it here. And it's a way of breaking down the components into smaller components so that we can keep one of the fields operational. So I think that should give you a pretty good understanding, and together with my explanation, that we are really working hard to reduce the ultimate need. But you are up in the upper portions of the watershed, and the regional board has determined certain numbers, and we do have this updated reasonable assurance analysis in process that reduces the ultimate number assigned to you. But we also think that we can claim some credit for downstream, because just like in Sims, there's about a tenth of that. I think it's 12.2, but 12.1 is your money, or not your money, your water. And a tenth of that is actually coming from upstream. But then further downstream, you contribute a higher percentage. So I've been working with this watershed for a number of years, and I'm pretty confident that if we can get this one installed, and then we've got some other stuff already in the mill downstream, which is not part of your city. But between that and potentially some other smaller projects in Bellflower, I feel confident that we can keep you protected. So anything else that we can answer for you?
No, well, again, thank you for the explanations on the process of construction, and also that you're working hard on that sort of reasonable adjustment on the on the end number. That's what I was concerned with. But again, thank you. It's a big picture kind of approach. So I definitely again see what you're doing, and thank you for it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Hawada. Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Richard, I have well, first off, thank you for the presentation for everyone who presented, but I have a kind of follow-up question here. Taking the project in steps or in quarters, I believe is what you call them, is that the most cost-effective and the most time-saving approach? I guess, is having one field open, is that going to slow the project down? I mean, if you were to just take the project and do it all outright, could we move the project along further with a faster timeline, or What's the reason here for the?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, yes, you are correct. We came up with this because we thought you might be concerned with keeping one of the ball diamonds open. The most expeditious way of doing it is very similar to what we did at Boulevard Park in Lakewood. We did half at a time. So we took half of the whole project, excavated that, put the dirt adjacent to it, and then filled that back in and went ahead. So I don't know if Oliver's figured out the time difference. My guess is we're probably adding about $50,000 in cost because we'd have to seed the first project so we could have that playable while the second project is under construction, second part's under construction. So you are correct, sir, that the most expeditious way and the most, the least expensive way is to do it in 2 phases and not try to do it to keep one ball diamond open.
Thank you for that. And so I guess my next question would go to our Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Milana. Mr. Milana, do you believe that there's the necessity to keep one of those fields open, or do we have sufficient ball diamonds available with Thompson and with Carruthers?
Hi, good evening. PJ is out of town this evening. This is Kristen Smith, the Recreation Manager. I'm covering for him tonight.
Kristen.
Hi. This part of the conversation was very interesting, and I think it's great that they're trying to accommodate us, but I really feel that we have a great relationship with Little League and our field users, and we could easily relocate them to other parks, maybe expand their time and accommodate them so that this project can be done all at once.
Very good. Thank you for that. And then I guess that'll lead me to my next question, my third, and I hope maybe my final question for this evening or this one. And it's probably a dual question, so Parks and Rec and Public Works. I know that we have in the works the goal here of putting an emphasis on soccer fields at Simspark. So how does this project tie into that? Are we going to take advantage of this project as when the fields are going, the turf is going up and everything, to save some money on that end as well and actually do the soccer field additions? Or is it too early? Am I jumping the gun?
I can say that we have $2 million budgeted right now for a field. So ultimately, if we could get that funded through this project, we would save that $2 million. We also have a potential grant opportunity that would also cover the expense. So we have a few different avenues we're going towards to try to pay for the artificial turf field. And this is just another one that would be a great savings to us, ultimately saving about $2 million.
Very good. I mean, that pretty much answers my questions.
Okay.
Then
I think Lynn Gorecki wants to chime in here on this topic.
Honorable Vice Mayor and City Council, I mean, I think there's a lot of discussion down the line that needs to be had regarding the construction, design, phasing, how it interfaces with all the activities that Parks and Rec are doing with their grants for the soccer fields and the build there. So this will be a huge project that will ultimately, we'll try to dovetail all together. It's extremely early to be having those discussions this evening. The item before you is simply approval of the transfer agreement to get the funding to do the design work. So that's what's before you tonight. And I think the idea of having conversations about design and phasing and all that are extremely premature at this point. I think there will be some workshops we'll probably do, similar to what we did with Carruthers. We'll be bringing a lot of different designs back to the City Council for you guys to look at and provide your input and move forward at that point. But we're a very long ways away from that. So tonight is just the authorization to do the transfer so we can start working on the funding for the design of this project.
Absolutely. I mean, I understand that. I think it's just important to know how things, are going to play out with each other. This is the first time hearing about this project, so.
Yeah, and again, we're not funded for the project itself. We're funded for the design of the
The design.
project. With
Perfect.
this design and the hard work that Rich does for the group here, and as well as Oliver, it's extremely important that you have these designs funded and done in order to actually get your construction money. So that's really what we're trying to do here. And there'll be a lot more exciting things that will come before the city council as it relates to the design and the improvements. But we have a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak, with Simspark right now, between PJ's grants and the soccer fields and this project that's come up, the teen and senior center. There is going to be a lot of work going on at Simspark and stuff. So very exciting stuff.
That concludes my questions,
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
So as a recap of what Lynn, we're just talking about the 2.1 million for design. Okay. Mr. Santanez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Bernie, can you bring back the second to the last chart? Some of this caught my attention on the chart, on that slide presentation. I think the one before this, or let's see here. It's been a while. Before this one. Maybe not. Maybe okay. Move forward then. I think maybe it's towards the end. One more. It's a bullet point. That's it. There was something about the funding. There you go. The last one. You mentioned construction completion estimated September 20, if funds awarded. So can you elaborate on that, if funds awarded?
Sure. So as Len mentioned, right tonight we are just strictly going for the transfer of the design funding. Before the WASC, the committee, there's still the construction funding that's being considered, and we expect to hear from the committee by May of 2022 on whether we're going to be successful in getting that construction funding. We look favorable right now. We are a year ahead of most of the other cities. We got funded for design, and the discussion has been that if we got awarded for design, it would be a high probability that we would also be getting funded for construction.
Okay, so it's not guaranteed that they will fund this construction project, but based on your assessment at this point, we have a very good chance of getting it funded.
That's correct. And if we do get awarded the construction funds, then yes, we will look at September 2024 as the expected completion date.
Yeah, but my point here is that it will be a waste of tax dollars to spend $2 million for the design and then it doesn't get funded. I think a lot of our taxpayers will not be happy with that. So I think whoever makes the decision should take that into consideration, because they're already investing more than $2 million to get this design. So I'm hoping that we get the funding so that the project can be completed.
Bernie, may I comment on that?
Go ahead.
Yes, this is Rich Watson again. Last year, I had put in 2 projects for design. Well, actually, yes, design only. Sims being one of them, and one other in Hartwell Park in Long Beach. And at the time, I was putting them both in. I wanted to get them both designed so we could pick which one we decided to go with first. The committee, the WASC, the Watershed Area Steering Committee, concluded that they didn't like the idea of approving 2 projects for design only. They were worried about potentially not being able to fund both. I don't think that was a real problem, actually, given where we are in the process. But when the committee decided to select Simspark there wasn't an absolute vote, but there was a consensus that they were going to fund Simspark for design this year and move forward with construction after design.
Okay.
So I think that what I was trying to do was provide some flexibility for the watershed, but what they did was basically select Sims. So I think there's a very high probability. There's no guarantee because that's not how the vote went, but the way it was structured, the intent was they were going to pay for design and then they were going to fund construction of Sims because they considered this a more important project.
Okay, well, thank you. That's a very refreshing answer to the question. Thank you. My second question is, in Carruthers Park, the water came from the Los Cerritos Channel, and it was captured. And I think we have about 9 acre-foot, and this one is 12. And if I remember correctly, in the previous presentation on Carruthers Park, the main use of the captured water is to be used to water the park. Okay, so moving on to Simspark, we're gonna capture more water at 12.2 acre-feet, but on the other hand, we're gonna be putting artificial turf on that baseball field. So my question is, what do we intend to use this water for?
Ernie, may I comment once again?
Actually, if I'm sorry, Rich, if Oliver can go ahead and respond as the engineer of record.
Yeah, it's actually a twofold comment. So, and Rich can also should also chime in as well because he was helping with the from the watershed perspective as well as how it all fits in. So yeah, there is an opportunity where there is a large amount of water that is coming in. We also have a filtration system so that because the infiltration rates are very low at this site, what we have done is we're able to capture up to 12.2 acre-feet of stormwater that's filtered and caught in the underground storage. We also have a way to pump out and filter the water back into the storm drain. So you create this treatment process. It's actually capture and release system as well. But at the end of the storm, what we're also able to do is you can use the water that's caught there. Usually, when it's not raining, there's the urban runoff that comes through there. Can also be stored in the structure. It can be used for irrigation for some of the plants that are proposed in the parking lot and other areas. But it's also to be designed in conjunction with providing irrigation water downstream to Lakewood's Mayfair Park project through the storm drain system. So it can hold it and store it to assist with the irrigation demand for a downstream facility as well. So there's a lot of really good options. The way the system is designed, it's not to hold the full 12.2 acre-feet in that storage structure. It's meant to capture, treat, and release so that you're treating, improving water quality, and protecting the Los Cerritos Channel downstream. I think, Rich, if you want to add anything else to that.
Yes, I'd like to add to that if I might.
Yeah.
One of the things that everybody needs to realize is we've been really working diligently to put projects together that help the whole watershed, not just independent individual cities. In this case, we're putting together projects that work together that particularly benefit you. And what we decided to do, Mayfair Park's approximately 2 miles downstream. It's a bigger park. It has needs the irrigation water. And so the way we've structured this is particularly emphasizing that during dry weather, that we will capture water from upstream, and there's a 758 acre tributary area to this particular watershed. We will capture that water, we will hold it, we will then post-treat it so we can put it back in the channel or in the, it's not an open channel here, but put it back in the system. And then it will come back down and we'll release it when they can use it at Mayfair after they have used up the water they capture from the same dry weather project. So it provides a tremendous benefit in dry weather. It allows us to get dry weather credit, if you will, for this. And then in wet weather, at that 12.2, or if you take the full 24-hour capture of over 27 acre feet, this is a critical project in wet weather. But how we designed it was to get benefits for dry weather by capturing and then releasing. Originally, we were going to bypass all the dry weather flows. But then we came back up with the idea if we collect it and hold it for a while they use what they've collected from the dry weather events. And remember, the dry weather events are much smaller than a storm event. And so therefore it becomes beneficial. It becomes a beneficial use downstream. But we're looking at, and in this respect, we're looking at it as a watershed project. And so we get to claim some credit for it, helping in terms of substituting for potable water, because the park at Mayfair is not on their reclaimed water system. It's irrigated by potable. No, it does get some, excuse me, that's the wrong park. It does get some from reclaim, but we're going to divert the reclaim to another use. So we're trying to work these systems in together. But so by doing that and incorporating the way we're going to cooperate with Lakewood downstream and Mayfair Park, it gives us more benefits out of SIMS. So SIMS is vitally important in wet weather, and it's now also important in dry weather.
Okay, thank you. My final question is, if we approve this proposed action tonight, are we going to solicit bids, or do we have an identified vendor to do the design?
No, we'll work through that. We will likely use the same vendor that we use to do the design work similar to Brothers.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Lynn, did you have something to add?
Nope, I just wanted to once again reiterate that this meeting is simply about the transfer agreement and not design and conveyance of the water once the project's completed.
I have one question, Bernie. You can probably answer this. Is any of this capture for groundwater percolation under our footprint, or is it all just storage to pass on down the road?
There should be, as Lynn mentioned, when we start with the design components, there should be some leeway as to what portion we're going to capture, what portion can we infiltrate. But strictly, we're at a 10% design. So once we start getting into the design discussions, then at that point, we'll have a more definitive response.
Right. That's fine. Thank you. Other than that. And then I'm guessing the artificial turf is just because somebody thought of it or whatever, but I mean, it's still in the design stage. That needs to be thought through.
It's the council's option, how they want to do that.
Yeah. And with that, that's all my questions. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor Pro Temp, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to execute transfer agreement number 2021 RPLSGR01 in a form approved by the city attorney with the Los Angeles County Flood Control District for the Safe Clean Water Program, regional program funds to the design of Simspark Stormwater Capture Project.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Victor Sanchez and a second by Raymond Hamada. Call a roll, please.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Aye.
Councilmember Santinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada?
All right.
I didn't have to use a gavel once.
All right.
All the children minded.
Okay. right, I guess we're to consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, before you start, I'd like to consider number D or letter D separately from the consent agenda, mainly because the recommendation doesn't include a start time for the meeting if the council wishes to do that.
What?
13D like David?
Oh, D. Okay,
D
I
as
thought
in
you said
David,
B.
right.
No, D like David, and
Okay.
that has to do with, some of us are going to Sacramento, and there's gonna be a conflict as to when the return. And Sonny, you have a 4 o'clock, or you have something going on at that day.
At 7 p.m.
7
Yeah, what
p.m.
the real issue is, if the council chooses to move this meeting, as they've done in the past, because members of the council have attended the legislative orientation tour in Sacramento, Mr. Santinez, we generally moved it to the following Thursday. That Thursday, Mr. Santinez has another meeting that takes place at 7 p.m. that night. So we didn't specify a starting time for the meeting, so what staff is recommending, we start the meeting by 4 or 5 o'clock or something like that, if you move it to Thursday to accommodate Mr. Santinez in his meeting. So that's all that's about.
All right, and so the question, Mrs. Santinez, if we were to begin the meeting at 4, would that give you enough time to get to your 7 o'clock?
I would, depending on the agenda, if you're going to put cannabis and homeless,
Yeah, we'll do both.
Load it up with that, yeah.
based on my experience, okay.
Where's your meeting at?
Well, we don't know. It's usually virtual, but it's going to be general. We don't know yet if it's going to be in-person meeting. That's going to be in Santa Fe Springs.
So best.
That's the Vector Control District meeting, by the way.
All right, so if we get you out of here by 6, you'd be able to be
Oh,
okay?
yeah, either way.
All right. So what do you think? Do we have any idea what's going to be on that agenda?
I think that we could, I don't imagine we'd have a meeting that would run more than an hour and a half, which
Okay.
would leave an hour and a half. That should work, yeah.
Okay, that should work.
All right, so that's the idea for our unit, item D like David,
Okay,
to
good.
try. Closed session at 4?
Yeah, let's start closed session at 4. Let's start the regular meeting at 4:30, and we'll just clean it up. We'll keep the closed session clean if we need to, so,
Closed session at 4?
right.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Okay, I'll move the consent calendar along
Oh,
with
oh,
those
wait a minute.
stipulations.
Can I have I just want to pull item E and H for a quick question.
All right, so noted, E and H. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to pull from the consent calendar? Does anybody have any recusals from the consent calendar? All right, let's start with E, Mr. Santinez.
Yeah, Mr. DeLonga, just a quick question on the staff report here regarding the inventory of homeowner units. You mentioned about foreclosure.
Yes.
Okay, so I think just for transparency, what happens if a property is foreclosed? Does the city lose any money?
The city didn't lose money in this case. This was a foreclosure on their base loan, and we just lost that tenant or that owner to that property. And then pursuant to the covenants, we had to have a new low-income tenant or owner come in and buy that particular property.
Okay, very good. So the bottom line is the city did not lose any money.
Correct. We kept the covenants in place.
Okay, wonderful. And then
Item H.
I just want to thank our contractor for doing this because it really means a lot to our children because it funds the calendar contest, which we receive them every year, give them the award. And I just want to kind of specifically mention that I'm really thankful that we're able to continue this project, especially it really benefits our school children. So that's all my comments.
Right.
Thank you.
Duly noted. Anybody else have anything before we look for an approval? All right, Mr. Dutton, are you ready?
I already did it, so.
All right.
So
So we
you just need a second.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so we got a motion by Mr. Dutton, seconded by Mr. Santinez. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Councilmember Santinez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton,
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada,
All right.
Mayor Coops.
Aye. All right, council reports. Let's start off with Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton.
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor.
All right. Moving on to Councilmember Raymond Hamada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things to highlight. On the 18th, I attended the Salvation Army Kettle Kickoff. So it was a nice event. We were able to learn about their program, and they're looking forward to just opening up within the community and helping out a lot of people. On the 19th, I attended a Zoom meeting to meet the 2 COG members of the LA County Blue Ribbon Commission on the Homeless. We were able to chat with the members, and they just wanted to get some input from the attendees. There wasn't that many. I was maybe a little surprised. There was only about 15 of us, but we just had a little chat to just comment on how things are going within our respective communities. And they were looking forward to discussing the matter further, bringing it up at the commission meetings that are to occur here, and they'll get moving on that. And lastly, this past Saturday, I was able to attend the virtual tour of the Puente Hills MRF, and so we got the visual, so we again, not the aroma. So so that was a good part, and they were able to highlight the food waste program processing there, and the staff was able to again show us the finished product. They called it a slurry, not like the stuff we use on our streets, but she used the comment that it almost looks like a Coca-Cola Slurpee, and it was amusing, but I'm not sure if 7-Eleven would like to have heard that. But again, it was a good tour, and it's actually better on virtual than going in person. So you were able to see the detail. Actually, they drove a vehicle onto the property. They showed the trucks dumping. They showed the machines working. They showed the staff doing a little bit of sorting, and just going through the whole process of, again, using magnets to pull out metal, and weight type machines to sift through the material, and so on. So it was very interesting, and again, they're trying to keep stuff out of the landfill. So that's the bottom line. So with that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Amata. Councilmember Victor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, I too was able to attend the Salvation Army Kettle Kickoff, and then on that Thursday and then on that Friday evening, I was able to attend with Councilmember Sunny Inez and Hamada the celebration of Calaveras' fifth anniversary in our downtown. So just a couple of things. I know there's a lot more, and I know some of you will touch on that, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Councilmember Sunny Inez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to report that last Saturday, I participated in the Thanksgiving food distribution at Simspark. I want to thank the Bellflower Noon Lions Club, Supervisor Janice Han, and all the donors and all the volunteers from Mayfair High School, Bellflower High School, the Scouts, for giving out those food items. About more than 100 families were served on that day. And also, I've been getting a lot of phone calls about the demolition on Bellflower Boulevard. And I told them that we are building 91 units of luxury apartments, and there's going to be commercial businesses in the what used to be the old Thompson Furniture. So, Mr. Gorecki's question is, when are we going to reopen the lane 2 on southbound Bellflower Boulevard? Because that was the next question on a few phone calls that I received. I told him that it's a great progress, and so far there's not been lots of complaints. It's always curious what's going on. So that's what I explained. So the next question is, how long will lane number 2 be closed?
Yeah, the developer, when they submitted their traffic control plan, showed Bellflower Boulevard being closed for the first 6 weeks of the project. So technically speaking, we probably have 5 more weeks of the traffic remaining. where it's barricaded down the one lane southbound. Once they're done with that portion of the work, which is mainly everything closest to Bellflower Boulevard for safety reasons, then they will reopen that lane, and then the only traffic control moving forward for the duration of the project will be on Main Street and Oak Street.
So before Christmas, we should get the
It's
the
not a
second
city
lane.
project, so I'm not as confident about giving timelines
Okay.
as if it was my own project.
So
and
4 to
stuff,
5
but
weeks from.
Yeah, they're like I said, their schedule with their traffic control plan showed the lane reduction on Bellflower Boulevard being in place for 6 weeks, and they actually started it last week. So
Okay.
we're looking at 5 weeks right now if they stay on schedule with their work,
Okay.
or it could be sooner. They just don't.
All right, fair. Can we put something in the website about the construction? So at least,
Yeah, absolutely,
okay, so at least our residents will know what's going on.
absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Santinez. One question for you, Len, before you get away. So are there two timelines on that property? Because I know they've been working about 3 weeks on the rear portion where they have been digging, and now we're starting a new timeline on the commercial portion?
The timeline I'm referring to is only in regards to their traffic control plan that they submitted for their project.
Okay,
So the work they're doing is directly involved with the Public Works Department, and we're asking them for their schedules for how long Bellflower Boulevard's going to be reduced down to one lane, and then moving forward, what's going on with Oak Street and Main Street. So in terms of their overall project schedule, I could not tell you if they're ahead of schedule, behind schedule. I do not know that. I just work with them as it relates to the traffic control schedule and what we have going on for the delineation of Bellflower.
will there be any public works activities on Bellflower Boulevard where the sidewalks once were? Do we have to put in water or gas or electrical in that area?
All of their water and utilities, I believe, are going in off of Oak Street.
Okay,
Yeah, that they've worked out with the utility companies.
all right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm the last one to give my report, and I want to adjourn this meeting in memory of our good friend Val Lurch. Former Long Beach City Council member Val Lurch passed away on November 21st, 2021, after battling an illness. From June 23rd, 1969 through February 23rd, 2012, Val served as the United States Coast Guard with 12 years of active duty and 30 years in the reserve. He retired from the United States Coast Guard as a yeoman first class. Val served as the chair of the Long Beach Veterans Day Committee, which is the longest-running Veterans Day parade in Southern California. He was elected to the Long Beach City Council in 2002, re-elected in 2006, and served as the vice mayor in 2008. Val served on countless boards, including the U.S. Vets Long Beach Village at Cabrillo, Habitat for Humanity, Veterans Independence Day Celebration, and the Compton Annual Stand Down Committee, just to name a few. In all of his capacities, Val worked tirelessly to honor and recognize veterans in the Southern California region and assist with providing access to crucial services such as housing, career development, health screenings, substance abuse treatment, and mental health counseling. Our deepest sympathies and heartfelt condolences go out to the entire Lurch family. Every one of us, the City Council, knew Val as a real asset to the Long Beach and Bellflower communities, especially when it had to do with veterans, and we're going to miss him very much. He was not even 70 years old, and he's already been taken, so much too young to be passing on, but we're going to cherish the memories of his activities here in the area. So at this point, we're going to adjourn our meeting to the next date, which is this Monday, December 13th at City Council meeting at 5:30 p.m. We stand adjourned.